Let's be honest for a second, all know the score. If you're an MMORPG fan right now, you're essentially living in a pretty grim spot. We're seeing cancellations left and right. Any of the future big releases feel kinda safe, sterile. Every time you log in, it doesn't feel like an adventure anymore. It feels like a checklist. Dailies, weeklies, battle passes. The genre has shifted from worlds you live in to apps you open to do chores. But look, I didn't want to make another video complaining about it. There are enough video essays out of there dissecting the death of the MMO genre. I just want to do the opposite. I want to inject some positivity back into the timeline. I want to celebrate some of the games in the past. I've been looking back at my own history, the thousands of hours I sunk into the virtual worlds, and I've narrowed it down. My top 5 MMORPGs of all time. These aren't objectively the best games ever made. They are the ones that defined me, the ones that had soul. So, put down the daily quest log, grab a drink, and let's take a trip down the memory lane. Before we crack into the actual top 5, I have to talk about the game that technically doesn't fit the mold, but has a permanent residence in my heart, Dragon Nest. Now hear me out, I don't fully put this into the MMO category. It is more of a hub-based ARPG, but my god, the combat. If you played Dragon Nest at its peak, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This wasn't a tap target, press 1, wait for cooldown. You had to aim every shot, you had to iframe dodge. When you hit a combo, you felt it in your hands. And the community in this game, absolutely brilliant. There was this culture where veteran players would actively adopt newbies and get rewarded for it. But the biggest thing was the raids were actually mechanically demanding that you really needed people to know what they were doing. The raid bosses weren't just giant health sponges. They were actually like puzzles that required insane teamwork. I still think about it. I'm still waiting for a modern developer to just steal the combat fundamentals from Dragon Nest, slap it into a seamless open world, and take all my money. But until then, it remains the best combat I've ever experienced. Alright, kicking off the list at number 5, and this is my wild card here, Marvel Heroes. Now the purists in the comments are already typing Nilvarcus, that's an ARPG, that's basically Diablo with capes. And to you I say, you're wrong. To me, Marvel Heroes hit every single beat that matters in an MMORPG. Just think about it. We had massive social hubs, the Avenger Tower, where we spent hours just standing around, showing off our skins and chatting in general chat. We had raids, we had guilds, we had the Midtown Patrol, which is basically just a chaotic open world grind fest. It was a pure dopamine. It wasn't about suffering through the grind for 6 months to get one piece of gear. It was about the joy of the Marvel universe. I could be playing Iron Man, flying around blowing up Sentinels, and then 10 minutes later I swapped to Deadpool, then to Wolverine. Playing the different characters in this game wasn't a punishment, it was the core loop. I put about 2,000 hours into this game, and it's the only shutdown that genuinely hurt me, because right at the end, the developers, Gazillion, had finally started pushing some real fixes to the game. It was getting to a really good state. Biggest update ever had launched, and then poof, gone. The legal issues, licensing, it doesn't matter now. But for a few years, this was the most fun I've had online. No stress, just loot explosions and superheroes. Coming in at number 4 is the game that millions of people have played, but I played it very differently. Guild Wars 2, but specifically the structured PvP. I'm not talking about map completion, I'm not talking about living world seasons, I'm not talking about killing dragons. I honestly never even experienced the leveling process in Guild Wars 2 properly. For about 6 months, my life was the heart of the mist. I logged in, I went to the lobby, and I fought. And here's why it's on this list. It was the ultimate skill check versus gear check. In structured PvP, everyone had the same stats. Everyone had access to the same runes. If I beat you, it wasn't because I farmed dungeon for 3 weeks and got lucky drop. It was because I was better than you. Or more likely, you beat me because I messed up my rotation. In the beginning, the potential was electric. We were building tournament teams. The meta was shifting weekly. We were treating it like a MOBA. Bunker Guardians holding the point. Mesmers causing chaos, thief players bursting people down from the shadows. ArenaNet had the structure for the greatest competitive MMO ever made, but sadly they dropped the ball. Updates took forever, the focus shifted entirely to PvE. After the 6-month high, the scene just kind of dried out, but for that half year, it was the purest competitive experience I've ever had. It really respected my time. Log in, fight, log out. It was awesome. Number 3, Archeage. Man, this one hurts. Marvel Heroes was fun, Archeage was potential. This day, I believe Archeage is the greatest concept for an MMORPG ever created. It was the true sandpark dream. Do you remember the first time you built a clipper ship, the physics of the water, sailing the open ocean with your guild, knowing that radar could ping the red ship at any second? And it wasn't just the PvP for the sake of PvP, it was resources, fighting over trade packs, gliding over a mountain to find an illegal secret farm that someone planted to avoid taxes, or being the guy planting that farm. hoping nobody finds it before the morning, or unlogging in to find some guy uprooting your thunderstruck trees and sending him to jail. And I mean literal jail. You'd go to court, the real players would sit on the jury, you could rot in a cell for 40 minutes for murdering people. It offered true freedom. You could be a pirate, farmer, merchant, mercenary. Class system let you mix and match 3 skill trees into anything you wanted. But we all know how this story ends. The cracks appeared fast, the monetization, the pay to win, the daily grind that becomes second job. Tryon Worlds and Excel Games let greed strangle the potential. But I put it in at number 3 because for those first few months at launch, it was the best game in the world. Number 2, we're going way back now, the true classic, Ragnarok Online. Visually, timeless. Every time I look at Ragnarok Online, those 2D sprites on the 3D background, it just works. It's the perfect example of art style triumphing over graphical fidelity. It has the undeniable charm that modern 3D engine just can't replicate. But it wasn't just the look, it was the identity. In modern games, everyone is a hero. In Ragnarok, you were a cog in the machine. Class system was incredible. You could be a hunter using traps. You could be a hunter using a falcon to kill your enemies. You could be a critical assassin just farming monsters from the shadows. A battle monk that could one-shot bosses but then be useless for 5 minutes. Or a merchant who literally just sold stuff. Progression felt vertical in a way that made sense. Finding a specific card drop for a low-level monster to change your entire build forever. And the community. Look, maybe I have rose-tinted classes on, but because the game was difficult and because there was no dungeon finder, you had to talk to people. You sat in the Frontera South Gate, you opened a chat room above your head, you made friends because you needed them to survive. People weren't NPCs in your single-player story, they were your lifeline. It was a PvE game where being friendly was the meta. And if you wanted violence, you had the War of Imperium, guild versus kill, pure chaos. It was pretty magical time, for sure. And finally, the number 1 spot, the game that ruined me for all the games, Lineage 2. If Ragnarok was about charm, Lineage 2 was about consequences. We are in the deep end of the hardcore pool now. I made a video about this game before, but I can't overstate the impact it had on me. I spent my summers inside this world, and I mean lived inside it. It wasn't instance, it was a one seamless, brutal open world. And the defining feature, forced dependency. You could not play this game solo. If you didn't have a buffer, a prophet, a blade dancer, you were weak. You had to make connections, you had to join a clan, not because you wanted a shiny tag, because you didn't. You would get run over. I remember waking at 3 AM because the phone rang, a biome was spawning, the enemy clan is massing, get online, we need everyone for this PvP. And I would get up, get on my computer and open the game, and there we were, getting ready to fight. The whole game was pretty harsh, it was unfair, but it was still awesome. Mechanically, by modern standards, the combat is absolute borefest. You just stand there and pretty much just trade hits. But the politics, the drama, the scale of the castle sieges, pretty much still unmatched by any other game at this point. Definitely taught me that the game without consequences is just kind of a toy. Me, Lineage 2 wasn't a toy, it was pretty much a lifestyle for years. So there it is. We started with the casual, dopamine-fueled fun of Marvel heroes. We went through the competitive sweat of Guild Wars 2, the tragic potential of Archeage, the charm of Ragnarok, and we ended in the brutal trenches of Lineage 2. When I look at this list, I kind of see the common thread. None of these games were perfect, but they all ask for something different. Modern games, they mostly just want my wallet. These games, they wanted my time, they wanted my effort, and most importantly, they wanted my heart. They gave us friction, and in that friction, we made memories. Decades later, we're still talking about, but hey, that's just my list. I really want to know yours. What is the one MMO that defined your life? The one you just can't let go of? Drop it in the comments for me. I love reading those stories. Maybe one day we get that feeling back. Until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.